All right, today is the day. We're going to do something a little bit different this time. I'm going to show you some of my favorites from my 4K and Blu-ray collection. And I have way more discs kicking around in storage and in boxes somewhere, but these are the ones that I have underneath my television cabinet. These are the ones I like having out when friends come over, or maybe I like rewatching them a lot, or I just think they look cool for one reason or another. So I'm going to go over these ones one by one in alphabetical order, and I'll say a few words about why I like them. Promise I won't hold you hostage too long. But these are my favorite movies, so you might be in for a little bit of a doozy of a video here. But anyway, let's get into it. Alright, so let's get into these bad boys. The first one we're talking about is the 10 Universal Films Sci-Fi Collection. And this one's got a pretty nice variety in it for films. It's got 12 Monkeys, Lucy, Oblivion, Pacific Rim, and a bunch of others. So there's a nice wide variety of sci-fi movies in this one. And it makes really good use of my TV, so this is a fun one to have out when friends come over. Next, we have the Stanley Kubrick triple feature with 2001: A Space Odyssey, Clockwork Orange, and The Shining. Obviously, this is a staple if you're a Kubrick fan. I love The Shining, one of the best horror movies ever made. I've probably seen 2001 3 or 4 times. I've only seen A Clockwork Orange once, so I should probably go back and revisit that, but definitely a good one to have if you're a Kubrick fan. All right, next we have the Alien 6-film collection. And I'm a huge fan of the Alien franchise, obviously the first and the second. I like Prometheus. I don't get the hate with that one as much. And I liked Covenant too, so this is one that's kind of a must for me. I really like the Steelbook, so this is definitely one of my favorites in my collection. Next, we have The Batman. And if you've been around my channel at all, you know I love The Batman. It's still currently my favorite movie of 2022. Top Gun might be getting there, I don't know, to fight it soon, but currently still my favorite movie of this year. I've rewatched it like 3 or 4 times. The Steelbook is awesome. So this was definitely necessary to have in my collection. Next, we have the Big Lebowski, and this is like the special edition steelbook cover or something like that. I just think it looks really cool. I like the kind of comic book art style. One of my favorite Coen Brothers movies. Hilarious performances in this by Jeff Bridges, John Goodman, Steve Buscemi. Everyone in here rocks this movie, and it's just an absolute classic, so I needed to have it. Next up, we have Birdman. This is one of my favorite movies of all time. Definitely my favorite movie of 2013, and actually, if you remember, that was a really good year for film. But this one's just awesome. I loved how it's filmed to look like it's just one continuous shot. Awesome performances from Michael Keaton, Edward Norton, Emma Stone. Was so pumped when this won Best Picture at the Oscars, so you already know this was a must to have for me. Next up, we have the Bourne Trilogy with Matt Damon. This is just such a cool action spy thriller franchise. It really helped put Matt Damon even more on the map than he already was. These movies are just killer. The fight scenes are iconic and has really good writing, really good cinematography. So this is just a fun one to throw on every once in a while. And, they still get referenced a lot, so it's just a good one to have in your collection. Next up, we have Captain America Civil War. Obviously, this one is a massive comic book movie. It's kind of just like an Avengers Light because there's so many people in this. You get to meet Black Panther in it for the first time too. So this is just a really fun one to have and just throw on killer action scenes, and it just leads into a lot for the MCU. Russo brothers obviously just kill it with these Captain America movies, and he's my favorite superhero, so I needed to throw this one in the mix. Next up, we have Deadpool, and this one is a blast, obviously. It's a great mixture, too, because not only is it a comic book film, and you guys know I love those, but it's also just a great comedy. So, people that maybe don't love comic book movies, if you want to kind of ease them in and a good transition, this one is outrageous, tons of gags, tons of physical humor too, and it's still a really good blockbuster. So I like revisiting this one, especially with people that have never seen it before, so this was a good one to have in the mix. Next up, we have a little bit of a Scorsese triple pack here. We've got the one with The Departed, Goodfellas, and The Aviator. Obviously, Departed and Goodfellas, I think, are the two best gangster movies of all time. I've watched them endlessly. I could quote more of The Departed than I want to admit. I'm a Boston guy, so that kind of just runs in the blood here. But Goodfellas is incredible. I've only seen The Aviator one time, so it's probably one that I should go back and watch again. I don't have too much to say about it or experience with it, but yeah, this is a killer 3-pack. Next, we have The Fifth Element. And this one took me way too long to watch. I hate to even admit that. I probably watched it a couple years ago and instantly bought it on 4K the second the credits started rolling, basically. It's just a wild, wicked, fun, colorful, bombastic space adventure. Bruce Willis kills it. Everyone in here is really good. Gary Oldman's hilarious as the weird villain, Chris Tucker, all that. So I love this movie. I love watching this movie with other people too. So this is one that I always have out when friends come over because this one's just a blast. Next up, we have Fight Club. This probably used to be my favorite David Fincher movie. I don't know if it is anymore. That's probably The Social Network or Seven by now, but this is still an awesome movie. Has a killer twist in it, especially if you're watching it for the first time. It's really fun to see people's reactions to that. So this one's just a blast. I pretty much love everything Fincher's done, so always like having movies like this in the collection. Next up, we have Get Out. Obviously, Jordan Peele's masterpiece. I liked Us, I liked Nope a little less, but this one is just absolutely killer. Great social commentary, great scares, awesome visuals. The writing is really snappy, so this is another one that I also like seeing with other people that have never seen it before. This is a fun, like, first reaction movie. So I like having this one out for sure, and it's just fun to pop on every once in a while. Next up, we have Gladiator. Can you tell I like Ridley Scott? I don't think I have any director's movies more in this collection than Ridley Scott. And this one's just a blast, obviously. It's an absolute killer period piece epic. The fight scenes are incredible. Maybe The Last Duel that he came out with last year, that was actually my favorite movie of 2021, is able to rival the fight scenes in this, but this is a killer film. All right, next we have Hacksaw Ridge, and I'll just get my hot take out of the way now because this happens every time I talk about Hacksaw Ridge. I think this is the best war movie ever made. Better than Saving Private Ryan. Anything you're gonna come at me with, Hacksaw Ridge is better, in my opinion. The performance from Andrew Garfield is the best I've ever seen from him. Awesome cinematography. Yeah, it can get a little long, but like, it kind of needs it. It's an epic story. So I love whipping this one out. It's a really fun movie to have. Awesome, awesome war movie. Next, we have John Carpenter's Halloween, and this is a pretty relatively new purchase for me. It's a brand new 4K scan. It looks awesome. I learned about it from Jeff from Films at Home. If you know that account, he does great physical media stuff on YouTube. Yeah, this is just an awesome horror movie. John Carpenter is really the GOAT of horror, so need as many of those movies from him as I can get. Next, we have the Harry Potter 8-film collection. This one gets a lot more play in my household than I was expecting it to. We just kind of throw them on if there's nothing else that we're interested in watching. They're always on TV. I went through a binge of them again this year. I think I might even watch them yearly. Obviously, they're just a blast to watch. I've read all the books multiple times, so it was about time that I just broke down and bought the collection on Blu-ray. I don't even know if the 4K scan is very good of them. I need to double check, but it might be time to upgrade because this one does get a lot of play from me. Next, we have Indiana Jones, The Complete Adventures. If you know me at all, you know that I absolutely love Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's my favorite movie of all time. Yes, it's The Complete Adventures, so it does include the fourth one as well. That one has not really come out of this case, but the first three are an unbelievable trilogy. The first one and the third one especially. I mean, that third one with Sean Connery as his dad gives us so many epic, iconic new moments for the character. I'm really looking forward to Indiana Jones 5. If you've seen any of my shorts, I've been talking about Indy 5 a lot. I think it's going to be awesome. I'm probably going to upgrade my collection of this when the fifth one comes out and they're going to do a new box set. But for now, I'll be okay with this one. Next, we have John Wick. Obviously, one of the best action franchises ever. I'm obsessed with the John Wick franchise. I know a lot of people are. This one looks awesome on my TV. I loved all the neon color scheme. Tons of like neon purples and blues during the clubs and the gunfight scenes and everything. Love Keanu Reeves. So this is another one that gets a lot of play in my house. If someone comes in and they haven't seen John Wick, I mean, I'm just throwing this thing into the disc drive. So love having this one. Next up, we have Rowan Atkinson's Johnny English. This one has gotten some insane amounts of playtime in the Sully Streams household. When I was growing up, me and my dad must have watched this like 30 or 40 times. It still cracks us up. I absolutely love watching it with him specifically, so I had to add this to my collection. I don't even know if it's that funny or just kind of me and him have snowballed it into this insane meme, but I love this movie. I have seen the second one. I wasn't that impressed with it. I actually just found out there was a third one, but at the very least, this first Johnny English movie, perfection. Next up, we have Jurassic Park. This one was basically tailor-made for me when I was growing up. I was definitely a weird dinosaur kid, you know, like roaring around the playground and stuff. I was totally obsessed. So this one was just perfect for me. It still looks incredible. The CGI is awesome. So much so that everyone thinks the T-Rex is animatronic, so absolutely love the first Jurassic Park. I should think about getting the other ones. I actually really like Jurassic Park 3. It's a total guilty pleasure for me, but at the very least, This first one is the GOAT. Next, we have Peter Jackson's King Kong. I adore this movie. I think it's pretty underrated and slept on too. Like, I know it's universally liked. I think it should be loved. I think it's a total masterpiece and work of art. It still looks incredible. The effects are awesome in the jungle and in New York, in that bug scene. I'm still getting chills just thinking about it, so I absolutely love this one. This was a must for me. It might have been one of the first 4Ks I ever bought. Needed this in the collection. Next up, we have The Last Action Hero. This is definitely one of the more recent 4K purchases I have. I don't think you can even really get this steelbook anymore. I just thought it looked really cool. Found an unopened one on like eBay, definitely paid the price for it, but this is a guilty pleasure for me. Again, I think it's kind of slept on and underrated. It was really ahead of its time. Like, it's a little jumbled up, but it was very meta and has the fourth wall breaking, which is stuff that's very popular now, obviously. So this is just a really fun Schwarzenegger romp. Highly suggest getting this one. And now for like the 20th Ridley Scott movie on this list, The Last Duel. This is my favorite movie of 2021. Absolutely adore this one. I thought epic period pieces were kind of a thing of the past, so I was pumped when this came to theaters. I was almost standing up in the cinema. The battle scenes were just so intense, so absolutely love this one. Like I said, it's very underrated, so not a lot of people have seen it. So when buddies come over, I kind of say, hey, have you seen this one? And once I give it the stamp of approval of the best movie of the year, usually their ears perk up a little bit and I get another excuse to watch this one. So yeah, absolutely love The Last Duel. Next, we have the Lord of the Rings trilogy in 4K. This one cost me a really pretty penny when it first came out, but God, is it worth it. It looks stunning on my television. Obviously, it's one of the best trilogies ever made. I know I was really talking up Peter Jackson's King Kong. This is really Peter Jackson's masterpiece. Adore these movies. I mean, everyone loves them for a good reason. So this was an absolute must to have in my collection. I think I had the Blu-ray trilogy for a while, but I mean, I had to upgrade to this one. Next up, we have No Country for Old Men. Obviously, another great Coen Brothers movie. Incredible villain performance by Javier Bardem, like one of the most chilling characters I've ever seen on screen. This one's just an absolute wild ride from start to back. This might be the Coen Brothers' best movie. They've got a lot of really great movies, but this might end up being their best, so this was another one I just wanted to have handy for rewatches and introducing it to new people if they somehow haven't seen it. All right, next we have Pain and Gain. Everybody that knows me knows that this is probably my favorite guilty pleasure movie of all time. I don't know what it is. I can't help it. It's just so messy, ridiculous, over the top, crazy cast. Obviously, it's Michael Bay, so you know it's like visual feast, even though it might not be that cohesive, but it's an absolute wild ride. I kind of hate reminding myself that it's based off like a tragic true story and they kind of just went and turned it into a comedy, but I can't help myself. Like, I get an absolute kick out of this one. So this is one that I needed to have nearby at all times. Next, we have Spider-Man No Way Home. Obviously, this one was just a cinematic event of epic proportions. All three Spider-Men in the same movie. I mean, that's just something I needed to have at home. I absolutely love this movie. Tobey's my GOAT. So, you know, any way I could support and see him more on the screen, needed to buy this one. I think it has a decent amount of cool special features and whatnot. I haven't really checked it out yet, but yeah, this is another one I just needed to have nearby. Next up, we have Superbad. This one is just hilarious. Obviously, it's a classic comedy for anyone that was growing up and was a teenager in the 2000s. I reference it way too much. It's got very quotable lines. It kind of shaped my sense of humor a little bit too, for better or for worse, because it was just, you know, came out in that time period of my formative years, basically. But this is just a great one to have on and throw on to have background noise. It's always hilarious. Everyone loves it for a reason. So yeah, I just wanted to have this one in my collection. Next, we have John Carpenter's The Thing, my favorite horror movie of all time. This one is just absolutely epic. I literally cannot believe there was a time that when it was originally released, it bombed at the box office. Like, bombed at the box office. I don't even know how that's possible. It's so well received and well loved now. Like, everyone says The Thing's their favorite horror movie. I mean, I don't blame them. I say it's mine, I think. So I just love this movie. Love putting this one on the TV. It looks great in 4K. I had to upgrade from the Blu-ray. I've got the Blu-ray kicking around here somewhere, but this is an awesome disc. Absolute staple for any massive horror fans, especially just big 80s fans in general. Love The Thing. You'll see me playing this one on the TV like 10 times a year, basically. Next, we have Thor Ragnarok. This one is unbelievable. One of the best MCU movies ever made. It really saved the Thor character, if you ask me. I mean, those first two movies, they were rough, dude. But this one is unbelievable. Taika Waititi steps in behind the camera and just completely flips the franchise on its head. Maybe a little too much in Thor Love and Thunder. I didn't really like that one that much, but Ragnarok really kicks some serious butt. Next, we have the double pack of Jason Statham's Transporter 1 and 2. I love these movies. They're very simple action movies. They're not very complex. What you see is what you get. The stunt work is awesome, though. You can tell it was a real labor of love for everyone that worked on this movie. So this is a fun one to come to, especially when people haven't seen this one. Kind of just open their eyes to more traditional low-budget action movies. Statham really kills it in this role, so these are just fun movies. Next, we have True Romance, and this might be my favorite 4K that I own in my entire collection. It's definitely one of my favorite movies of all time. Obviously, there are some other ones from my top 10 of all time in this list, but I mean, you just take this movie with this presentation, and it's got, you know, the extra special features, posters, and everything. This is one of those Arrow video releases. They really go the extra mile. This is an awesome case. Incredible movie. I know I said I wouldn't bore you with all the details, but I love talking about True Romance in the sense that, like, Tarantino wrote this one. He wasn't famous enough to direct, so he went to the director, Tony Scott, and he was like, hey, you can have one of these scripts, but you can only have one, and I'm going to direct the other one. And he gave Tony Scott a choice between Reservoir Dogs and True Romance. And he said, all right, I'll take True Romance. He absolutely loved the script. I mean, the movie's incredible. Obviously, it did great. He came back to Tarantino and was like, hey, you gotta give me Reservoir Dogs. I need that one too. And Tarantino said, no way. Obviously, he made that one himself, and the rest is history. But this might still be the best thing that Tarantino's ever written. I fully believe that. Next, we have The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. Yes, the Nick Cage movie. This is definitely one of my favorite movies of the year. I've already rewatched it like 4 times. Not only does it have a ton of laughs, but it's got a lot to say about cinema, filmmaking, and like just passion as a whole. So there's a lot in there. People got to start giving it credit because this movie kicks some serious butt. It's probably my favorite Nick Cage movie in a while. Like, other than Pig, I really loved Pig, but before that, this is probably my favorite Nick Cage movie in a long time. So this was an absolute must for me. I'm a massive Nick Cage guy, so had to throw this one in the collection. Next up, we have Unforgiven, and I think this is the best Western movie ever made. Absolutely adore this one. I think my dad introduced it to me when I was like 15 years old. Insane performances from Clint Eastwood, Morgan Freeman, awesome villain role by Gene Hackman, so this is one I had to pick up on 4K and add to the collection. I just love watching this one, especially with people that don't have like a ton of skin in the game with the Western genre. This one just kicks total ass. Last but definitely not least, we have Upgrade. This is the most underrated action sci-fi movie in recent years, maybe of all time. It's like if you took the plot to Venom, mixed it with Sci-Fi and John Wick. It's actually a better Venom movie than Venom is. If you think about a movie that like something takes over your body and takes control, the cinematography in this one kicks butt. The fight scenes look awesome. Logan Marshall Green is just so addicting to watch in this one. If you haven't seen this one, you need to go check this one out because I absolutely love Upgrade. All right, so we finally got to the end of my favorites of my 4K and Blu-ray collection. I hope I didn't bore you too much with little movie facts or kind of just going on about how some of these movies are the best of all time. I get a little carried away with that stuff, but I really appreciate you watching. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys at the next video.